share for those who brought us into the world. And it looks like a mom or a dad sometimes, or two dads or two moms. But ultimately, we were created in the image and likeness of God. God as creator of us. So taking it to that level, that place where we are deeply loved. That place where when we open our hearts, all our wants and needs are given to us when they're in our highest and best good. And as you turn your awareness into that place where you recognize the God within you and come into that sense of awareness that sometimes we forget, listen to these words. You are wonderful. You are amazing. You are a masterpiece, wondrously made. You are blessed. You are talented. You are anointed by the one who created you, brought forth in the world with a mission, a vision, a purpose, and a passion. You are prosperous. And you are creative. You have the potential to be filled with joy. You are loved, and you are loving. You are confident. You are healthy. You are energized. You're wise. You are valued. And you are infinite. These are the truth of who you are and many more truths that you embody as you bring forth the love and the light that you truly are into this universe. So hold those thoughts in mind as we take a few moments in the sacred and holy silence. Jesus said, "My Father and I are one." Allow yourself to feel that oneness that you are with God. That quality of love, of peace, of harmony that is God. Allow yourself to feel the oneness of that inside of you. And then begin to stretch it out to your edges, feeling it at the point of your skin, and then allowing it to reach beyond, coming to that place where the beyond is everyone in this room, that oneness with God and each other. To feel the support and the love maybe you didn't get when you were growing up, but is available and present to each of us now. It's right here for us. We are joy. We are loved and loving. We are confident. It's there in us. We are energized. We are wise. We are valued, and we are infinite. So slowly begin to open your eyes and look around at the wonderful, amazing beings that are here with you celebrating this beautiful day. You're seeing the face of God sitting next to you. And let yourself receive that love that is God that's coming back at you from the eyes that are looking at you. Today we're going to explore the idea of living in the infinite. Many of you have probably heard the saying that we are a spiritual being having a human experience. Yeah, we're a spiritual being having a human experience. So often that human experience feels limiting to us. It feels constricting. So constrict yourself for a moment. See how small you can make yourself, or how tight you can make yourself. And then release it. And notice how different it feels the moment you release it. So we can be really tight, or we can release that tightness and let it go. And come back into the expansion that we truly are, living in the infinite. So oftentimes our point of suffering comes from that idea that we're constricted. When we're walking up against our humanness at times, then there's this sense of limitation. And when there's a sense of limitation, there's a thought that there's a lack of freedom, or there's a lack of power. And yet we are created in the image and likeness of God. So we are the power that is God. Ooh, I really ran along. All right. In almost every Unity church across the country and then around the world, the Unity Statement of Being is spoken. Charles Fulmer wrote this many years ago. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. Let's say that together. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. It's a beautiful statement of being, but it's also a way of being. When we learn to live this statement of being, that there is only one presence and one power, then we're living in the infinite. And yet, as human beings, we know that we have a journey that unfolds before us of how to go from recognizing our humanness to living fully in our spirituality, to living fully in the consciousness of our divinity. And this story is told over and over and over again in the Bible. And one of the very first places it shows up is the story of Moses leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, out of bondage, and into the promised land. Exodus 3 talks of how the writer saw how God listened to the feelings of bondage, the experience of bondage, decided that God would move the people out of Egypt into a land of milk and honey. They co-created this movement. And this is our journey, our version of the Moses story, our version of the children of Israel's story. How do I go from Egypt was bondage to the freedom that actually exists for me in every day and in every moment? And the way to do this is take the journey into the living, not just knowing, but the living of there is only one presence and one power active in the universe. And sometimes that's hard to do. I know I have a hard time with it at times. And then I have to bring myself back to principle, back to my being, back to the knowing of who I am. And that can be a little bit challenging at times. Emily Cady says, God is the substance or the real thing standing under every visible form of life, love, intelligence, or power. Each rock, tree, animal, every visible thing is a manifestation of the one Spirit, God, differing only in degree of manifestation. And that's the beauty of us as spiritual beings having a human experience. We're all in different degrees of manifestation. We're all growing into this learning to live the truth of the one presence and one power that's active in the universe. And we're it, folks. We're the place where that one presence and one power shows up. We're it. We're the ones who can decide to live from inside out. That can decide that wherever we go, we are going to be the voice of love, the voice of harmony, the voice of wisdom, the voice of joy as we move through each day. We're the ones who get to come into that place of co-creation. I find it very exciting because it means that when I make this choice, I'm no longer bound by my human limitations. When I make this choice to live in this infinite presence and power, that I can create a life that I love to get up and go to every day, to get up and engage in. And so I can wake up every morning and say, yay, I'm going to have a great day. And I can look back in the evening and recognize the gift of my life. I can recognize that when I do take myself to bed, that what did I enjoy about my day? What were the best parts of my day? And I can have a long list of those best parts of my day. Now, does that mean that I won't see difficult things? I might. But maybe if I'm seeing them, that I'm actually being called to be the love there, present in that. If I'm in a restaurant and a couple is there with their young child or their baby and the child is having a hard time, maybe I'm there so that I can just radiate, same as we did in meditation, my love forward and wrap it around that family. Because sometimes it's really hard, and I know some of you know, to raise little kids. One of my best friends, when I was living in Honolulu, and her son was 2 years old, we were in California Pizza Kitchen, it's a restaurant, and we were having dinner, and all of a sudden Joe, who was 2 at the time, picks up some piece of food off his plate, and he tosses it, and it goes flying, and it lands on the shoulder of the man who was very close to us. I started to laugh. I got kicked under the floor, or under the table by my friend, but it was really funny. And luckily, the man received it well. There was laughter. But in the same process, as soon as it occurred and I got over my laughing, I began to send love there. Love is that harmonizing factor. So oftentimes what we do is we see something in the world and we say, oh, what's wrong with that? Instead of going, oh, wow, here's an opportunity for me to be love in the world, to send love, to send harmony, to be the peace in the situation and calm things down. I have a good friend who's a Toltec shaman. She had taken a group of people to Egypt on a tour, and they walked through one of the cities in Egypt in the middle of fighting, an insurrection, basically a coup, and they never even recognized it. They were so absorbed in the energy of the universe. They were so focused on what we would call God. that they didn't see any of the drama that was going on around them. And when they got back to their hotel that night and they had turned on the TV, they were surprised to know that they had gone right through the center of this fighting zone, this military zone. Now, if we step back and put that into our sense and our perspective, most often we're not walking through a military zone. But how often do we walk through the drama of our friends and family? Or how often do we walk through the drama of Walmart? That's where I think we see it. Not to put Walmart down, but sometimes that's where we see it. And it's so easy to move into judgment. But when we are practicing that there's only one presence and one power active in the universe, and we're the place where that presence and power shows up, then what we can do is we can be the love in the situation. So much so that we may not even see the drama. We simply send the love. I've been in situations where people would say, wow, did you see how mad that made her? No, I didn't. I didn't notice that. That's not where my focus was. My focus was on the good time we were having, or the love that was present for us. It's a shift that takes practice, but I think that that's the journey. And I think that that's what Emily Cady is saying when she says different only in degree of manifestation. We are in different places, and that's okay. And it's really cool, because you're going to remind me of times and things when I don't remember who I am. And I'm going to remind you of who you are at times when you don't remember who you are. And that's the beauty of spiritual community, is when we come together in love, we can remind ourselves that we are love, because we are that one presence and one power active in the universe. So we are love. So if there's something that doesn't look like love, we can focus on the good in it. We can focus on the love in it. For there is love when we choose to look for it. There is good when we choose to look for it. Because everything comes of God. God is in everything. Eric Butterworth says that there is no spot where God is not. That's kind of a little ditty. Sounds a little Dr. Sushi. There is no spot where God is not. And yet in the times that seem difficult, that's what I remember. I don't remember necessarily a beautiful, well-crafted affirmation. I'll remember, oh, there's no spot where God is not. I'm the one that brings the God through. And I believe this is our journey. And when we go to that place of the God within us, then we're not necessarily looking for the outside parts of ourselves to bring forth happiness and joy. We're not looking then for the right job to fulfill us and make us happy, the right amount of money in my bank account to make me feel confident or make me feel secure. I'm not looking for the right relationship so I can move on with my life. When I'm living that principle of one presence and one power, I'm seeing that they're all available to me in every moment. I'm seeing that when I come from that place, that principle, that I'm in the flow of life. And I get to choose. And when I step outside of the flow of life, which I do sometimes, and I get into my complaining self, or I get into my whining self, or I get into my critical self, I simply step back. I can do it with judgment or without. And I'm learning more and more to do it without. We can say, wow, isn't that interesting? From a place of love, from a place of radiating forth our divine consciousness. Emily Cady also says that all that we can ever need or desire is in the infinite principle. All that we can ever need or desire is in the infinite principle. There's no limit to the source of our being, nor its willingness to manifest through us. There is no limit. We are the ones that limit the God moving in, through, and as us. We're the ones who limit the possibilities that are available to us. Would you be willing to stop limiting and open the nozzle or open the flow. Recognizing the next time you see something that you go, oh, that's not so good. Or the next time you hear something on the news that's scary, because the news is a great place to practice this. And we can remember and affirm that there is only one presence and one power. We can come back to principle knowing that we could send love to that television and all the people that it's going to reach. We could be the solution to the difficulties in the world. It's a choice. And whatever we choose is really okay. We get to make those choices. That's why we have free will. My choice is to live from this principle so there's no limit to the source of my being. This is where, when we're in the flow, everything we need shows up. And sometimes it feels like a miracle. But everything that we need shows up. Here are some obstacles that we place in our path. Most people think that they're somehow fundamentally flawed. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. If you really knew who I was, maybe you wouldn't like me. We live from a desire to get approval or to keep somebody else from disapproving to us. Or am I the only one? We do this. We compare ourselves with others. Oh, she sings so much better than I. Oh, she's a much better speaker than I. Oh, she's a better writer than I. Why should I even try? Do you recognize any of this? Yeah. We do this. We try to, make ourselves an apple when we're an orange. We also spend a lot of time feeling powerless. We think that the worry that we have is real, rather than recognizing that it's conditioned. It's a conditioned reflex. Worry and anger and fear are all conditioned reflexes. We've learned to do that. And I want to tell you a story that illustrates this. There's a researcher who was looking at the cultural components of how rhesus monkeys live. And what he and his cohorts, his research buddies, did was they set up this really large cage. And in the center of the cage they put a ladder, and on top of the ladder they put a bunch of bananas. And then they put 5 different monkeys in that cage. So there's 5 monkeys, a ladder, and bananas. Well, monkeys like bananas. So the first thing that they did was, here goes one monkey, zip right up the ladder. And as soon as the monkey got very close to the bananas, the researcher threw in a glass of water right in the monkey's face. Down went the monkey. Second monkey tried. Up he goes. Researcher threw water in his face. Down he goes. Didn't get the banana. This went through all 5 of the monkeys. So then the researchers take one monkey out, put another monkey in. That new monkey, what do you think he did? Right up the ladder. But only this time the researcher didn't do anything. He watched what the monkeys did. And what the monkeys did was they pulled that monkey down, that new monkey. They pulled him down and started beating on him. So he wouldn't go up and grab up the ladder and grab the bananas. They took every monkey that had been in there with water splashed in their faces out of the cage until all the monkeys had been in there for a little bit of time, but none of them had had water thrown in their face. And do you know what those monkeys did? They still stayed down. They didn't go up. This is how we're conditioned. And we're conditioned quite a bit by our community. And so one of the things I love about being in a unity community is that we're willing to say, hey, let's do this differently. Let's think about this differently. Let's see if we can experience this differently. This is one of the joys. So that we're not going, well, we've always done it this way. Instead, we can say, let's spend some time and see what comes forth and what new way we can do things. We're living in an ever-expanding universe. I personally want to be expanding with that universe, continually learning and reading and experiencing things, so that I don't have to live in these ways of being. Joel Goldsmith says to free our hearts from the errors of self-will, false desires, ambition, and greed, is to reflect the light of truth as the perfect diamond reflects its own inner light. We all have an inner light. We are the light of the world. Are we spending our time reflecting on that inner light and allowing it to expand and radiate forth from us? When we do that, we are living the one presence and one power. When we reflect on the inner light, when we reflect on the God within, then we are living from that consciousness, and it makes a difference in our world. Just like I was asking Michael, I get up every day and I program my day. That's what I call it. I program my day. I decide, how do I want to feel today? I usually know some of the activities that I'm going to do, and there's always some activity or somebody who wants to talk to me that's not in my day. But I know, and I program it. And I look at my day and I say, I want to feel joy today. I want to have a really good time. I want to have a cosmic giggle. I want to be surprised. I want to enjoy this process of life, and I want to be in the flow. I want to be living in that one presence and that one power. And when I do this, it changes the way my day moves. So I do get to be in the flow, and I do get to have surprises. And they might be as small as somebody buying me tea at Starbucks. It might be as big as somebody handing me a check and saying, this is my tithe to you, you touched my life. And it might be as simple as somebody I care about saying, hey, you want to spend some time together? I think that that's one of the greatest gifts of love that I can be given, is somebody saying, hey, I want to spend time with you. So I get to be in the flow. I get to reflect that light. I get to be the light in the world. I want to tell you a little story about Brahms. When he would go to compose, Brahms would go into meditation, what we would call meditation, and he would spend time in his oneness with God. And he would spend time in the oneness with God until he felt like he began to hear this beautiful music coming forth. And from that time of meditation, he would write the music that he wrote, measure by measure, note by note. Yeah, from that oneness. When I'm struggling with writing a class or creating a class or something that I'm doing, maybe a newsletter article or something, as soon as I hit that place of pushing up against what I consider my human limitation, when I remember, which is more and more frequently as I've practiced it, when I remember, I go back into that oneness. I am one with God. And then it's easy to write. It's easy to create a class. It's easy to do something different. Simply have to come back. I am one with God. Say that with me. I am one with God. There is only one presence and one power. The journey of our lives is to live from that consciousness. And we'll do it in whatever levels of manifestation that we do it. But the longing that most of us feel is a longing to come home to that oneness. We often put somebody else's name on it, or a new job, or a new state, or a new place to live. But the longingness that we feel is a longing to come home to that oneness with God. How do we move forward? We recognize who and what we are, created in the image and likeness of God. That we have all the capacities of God. I feel like this is my, one-horse talk kind of thing. Because I bring it up almost everywhere I talk. Because we have all the capacities of God within us. And what level of manifestation are we in? I want to be as infinite as possible. Know that the power in us is greater than any obstacle that we will ever face. That one presence and one power is greater than any obstacle that we will ever face. And we are the ones who create the new ideas. We are the ones that tune in and create the beautiful music. We are the ones that bring forth the love, because we are the place where God shows up. And we learn to live in our magnificence. Look around the room and see the magnificent beings that are in here with us today. The smiles, the joy, that moment of connection that we have with each other. The community that encourages us. Hebrews teaches us to encourage one another. You have created it. Celebrate yourself for that creation. Are you willing? Yeah, I like to leave a how-to. Are you willing to spend some time with yourself in that presence and power and recognize all the places that you don't feel you're loving and simply bring love to it? All the places where you feel like you're not good enough, and just wrap your arms around that not good enough. You don't have to change it. It'll change itself when you bring love to it. Any place that you feel like somebody's better than you, wrap your arms around that and let it simply dissolve to merge into love. Is that something that you would be willing to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm willing to live in my infiniteness. Would you say that with me? I'm willing to live in my infiniteness. Yay. So let's say these together. I am wonderful. I am amazing. I am a masterpiece. I am blessed. I am talented. I am anointed. I am prosperous. I am creative. A few more. I am filled with joy. I am loved and loving. I am confident. I am healthy. I am energized. I am wise. I am valued. I am infinite. Well, let's say that last one together again. I am infinite. My invitation is go and be all that you are and have a great time doing it.